So, guys, in today's Pathmark Presents episode, I have a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Matt Litwin, who's hailing over from the folks at Mission, which is basically, it's a very interesting approach and market network essentially for developers, where tech talent comes together. It's essentially a community that brings together engineers and developers and supports them in their projects and their work that they're working on. So we want to talk about that today, what that means sort of, when you attract developers into your community, but also what it means from a B2B angle and how they're thinking about growth from Mission. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Lucas. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Of course. So maybe give us a 360 overview. What is mission.dev all about in your own words?
Yeah, I mean, you gave a pretty great description of it off the top, but pretty much what we're trying to do is we're trying to create the best working environment for independent software builders. Um, Over the past few years, it's now like everyone has shifted to remote work, hybrid work, and there's been a lot of improvements in what that means for those of us like you or myself who are fortunate enough to work at companies. There's programs, there's a lot that's been done to like let us work better remotely. We have connections, we have software tools, we have formal evaluation structures, but that's just something that hasn't been able to transition over to independent workers. They're still stuck for them remote work is exactly the same as it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Zoom is a bit better than Skype. Maybe that's the improvement. But what that means for us at Mission is that we're trying to take that remote working experience that companies have been able to develop over the last couple of years and bring that to independent software builders.
Mm.
So for us, that's we kind of center around three angles. First is we help them connect with each other. Um, Working remotely, especially as an independent worker, can be lonely. So we try to provide connections with peers locally and internationally. We're in 56 countries right now. Um, we have mentorship programs, we have team building opportunities. So other things that we do is we try to help them grow, and that's through formal mentorship programs, through engineering metrics, performance evaluations, things that again aren't normally available to independent workers. And the thing that kind of lets us bring it all together is we help people develop. We give working opportunities that are very different than what's out there for most for most freelance work. Large part of that centers around how we actually bring people together to let them work in a team. We
Mm.
let them have leadership roles, and we let them take on core work. If you were to talk about independent or freelance software development, normally you'd end up in a position where you're talking about website implementations or just quick little boring things last 3 months, not super challenging, not super fun.
Mm.
We through our network we give the opportunity for teams to have ownership and work on core products with growth stage companies all over. So all of that comes together for a very different working experience. And for us, that's kind of where everything works because we are able to take that, and that's also our offering to our B2B customers. We help them scale up their software development capability through those teams through our marketplace a lot faster than they would be able to through hiring, through anything else. And because we have an approach that's centered around team dynamics and helping people become better and happier, the work that comes out of it is also much stronger. So that's
Very,
Mission.
very interesting. I mean, super interesting approach. We'll definitely go into that deeper. Maybe tell us at first, sort of, how do you, what's the vision behind that? Like, where do you see that, going in a couple of years from now? Is it like a big network of, independent software developers working together, like a warp, like moving from one project to the next, or how do you,
Yeah.
how do you see about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think if we're talking about the vision, I kind of need to start back to how Mission was founded, and two of our co-founders are software engineers. I was going to say were, but they still are. They just one of them's are busy being our CEO, so probably codes a bit less than he used to. Hi, Stefan, if you're listening to this. No, but so pretty much the vision was that they had both worked at other startups before. They had both exited, and they started just doing a couple of work on the side. And they said, okay, you know what? This is good. We're helping someone, and we're helping someone build, and they wanted to bring more people in. Because they wanted to be able to build more, build faster, and it kind of snowballed naturally, and it began the question of what makes a good working environment for freelance software development. And that's really the visions for us. Our main striving force is to aim for two things. One is to create the best working environment as a place where people can be happy, and also to help them become better. It's if we're able to hit those two things for us that we're really happy about that. That's definitely our vision for where we're trying to build.
Very cool. And from a B2B angle, like, where do you see this going? Like you mentioned, companies can increase their development power quite easily and very fast. Like, what's a typical company that suits really well, and which type of products and projects suit really well into working with Mission?
Yeah, so for us, we tend to work really well with growth stage companies. So for me, that kind of means Series A, Series B, Series C. All of that is really just a shorthand for companies that are looking to level up quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Where Mission does the best is when a customer needs to develop something new. It's develop something new, migrate something over from one stack to another. We've had a few projects where we needed to rebuild a web app from I think from Node into React, something along as an example. So wherever there's a change in tech stack or a need to develop an entirely new feature, entirely new product, that means either you don't have the amount of internal resources, like your development team is, show me a development team without a backlog, and um, I don't know what I'll do because it won't happen. There's no such
Yep,
thing as
yep.
development team without a backlog. So everyone's busy. So it's whenever you need to not just like, okay, we want us to incrementally work on a feature, but whenever a customer needs to rapidly develop something new,
Mm.
that's in our sweet spot. And part of how our business model works and why that's our sweet spot is we right now have a network of over 1,000 members together. We have people who are special who have 10 years, 15 years, some of them 20 years experience. Obviously limited by the stack. Some of the individual technologies are only 5 years old, so mileage may vary. Um, but it's because we have such a large network of people who are ready to go, and some of them who've worked together already. We already have the question mark solved of how can we build and what will the team structure be. So by having that question mark solved, we're able to deploy a team often in a period of 2 to 4 weeks, which is a lot faster than a hiring process. If you were to have to hire an entire team of, let's say, 5 software developers, you would need a team lead, you would need a project manager. Good luck getting that within a quarter, let alone within a month.
Yep.
So for us, that's again why our sweet spot is those growth stage companies. If you need to build fast and you have a runway, you need to show results quickly, and we can help you do that.
Yep. No, makes a whole lot of sense. Now, who would typically be the champion within those companies that would say we need something like Mission? Like, is that actually a CTO, or does it come more from the, I don't know, product management side because they need to increase capacities? Is it from a C-suite level? Who is bringing in Mission?
That's a great question. For us, we actually see normally let's say like there's three profiles for people who will champion mission. First is definitely those technical leaders, so the CTO, CIO, VP engineering, VP mobile. So whoever it is and even if that person's not the champion, we work very closely with those people because once you're talking about organizational structure, development, and like this mission needs to fit into how you're developing your organization and your development team, like they need to be involved in that conversation. But they're someone who will just understand the software development capabilities they have and understand what needs they have and what they need to augment. Absolutely, one of our many of our strongest partners comes from CTOs within organizations. We will sometimes work with we'll call them the non-technical leaders.
Mhm.
So I'm going to use myself as an example. Head of marketing. I am not a programmer. I can do a little bit of HTML, and I think many people would be very angry at hearing me even compare HTML to programming. Well, I'm just digging myself a hole with that sentence. But the point is, marketing leaders, HR leaders, even finance leaders, people who understand the power that software can unlock for them, but may not have the capability, may not want to be able may want to be able to work independently and just have a team that supports their products, their features. That's another type. But because of how we operate as a market network, what we see a few interesting cases every now and then where some of the champions for us within organizations are our actual developers and our members. There's not much difference between somebody who has been a software developer for 10, 15 years can easily start off a side project, become a CTO, and become a customer. So we've seen a few instances of that interplay where people who are CTOs at a company will later join the network and want to work with us.
Mhm.
Another way around, where developers who are working with us will eventually recommend us and be our champion and bring mission into the organization that they're working with. That's
Mhm.
kind of one of the things that sets a market network apart from other business models.
Yep. Very cool. Um, Now, how do people learn about Mission? Like you mentioned one example, they were developers themselves, but what's other
Yeah.
journeys? Like what's the typical journey that they're going through from a marketing angle?
So that's, I'm going to say the luckiest sentence I'll ever get to say as a marketer, and throughout the rest of my career, this is the luckiest. Most of our growth is through referrals. We have
Hmm.
really extremely strong referral networks and referral patterns throughout their entire customer journey, especially on the customer side. Last I checked, I think the number was something along the lines of 60% of our growth has come from referrals. And
Hmm.
on our member side, it's a similar number. It's around that 60% mark. So for us, what that on the marketing side of things, what that really means is that means we need to be focused on delivering strong user experience, a strong user experience. And one of the things I'm working towards now is towards automating that referral program. It's whenever you have your members or your customers or your users be your strongest advocates as a brand, there's definitely that sense of you're doing something right. But from a customer journey point of view, there's what that means is that every lead you have that'll come in will still be a warm lead. It doesn't mean they're automatically going to buy. Sure, there's a higher conversion rate attached to it. We see probably 2x the conversion rate from referral channels as we do from non-referral channels.
Sure. Mhm.
But what that means for us is that we also, there's reputation on the line. Whenever someone refers you, you also have to put your best foot forward. So for us, one of the things I'm working on developing right now is enhancing our user sign-up flows and our email flows to better represent those referral programs to kind of give a warmer welcome to people, to kind of keep the referees more in the loop with what's happening with the referrals.
Mhm.
How can we automate the reward mechanism attached to the referral programs? That's one of the main questions we're working towards solving on the marketing side right now. It's as a startup where we're in a very much a rapid experimentation type of marketing strategy. We're not we're in the stage where we're trying to see what works and what starts the flywheel, what gets everything moving. So as part of that experimentation, we're experimenting more with some paid advertising.
Mhm.
We're working towards optimizing our website as well, creating more content, more personalized content, and content that can better tell the story and answer the question of what Mission does, because we strongly believe in what we're doing, and through what we hear from our members, through our NPS scores, we see strong experience. So what we really just have to do is we have to create the toolkit that will let everyone else tell our story. And if I can let someone else tell the story on my behalf, it's easy because it's easier. And if they're happy doing it, it's great. It's great all the way around.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned the website there. What role do you think the website plays in their journey of getting started?
The website. So it's interesting, especially because we're a community where it's a website is real. It's almost like the trailer you'll see before a movie. Like it gives you an idea, but you up until you actually sit down and watch the movie in the theater, you're not going to be able to get the same idea of it. So for us, we're in the process of redoing the website. There's been a fun thing about startups is you'll learn a lot about your business over the course of a year, and you'll
Mhm.
learn better ways to tell the story. Um, One of the problems we encountered about a year and a half ago, right when I started, and we actually did a rebrand right then. At the time we were a company, we were called G Squad. People assumed we were a tech support service. People assumed there's a boy band from the 90s that has the same name. And I mean, competing in SEO against a boy band is not a battle I want to try and engage in. The music's not bad, not my taste, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. Um, but pretty much what I see the role of the website as is to help people understand what we do. Is if someone could look at our website, scroll down the first page, and have a strong sense of, you know what, okay, this is Mission. Here's what they are able to offer to me, and as either a customer or as a member. That's how we've done our job well. And actually, that's one of the things I wanted to talk more about is just that difference of having those two audiences, the B2B side and the B2C side, because well, yeah, it's one website. We're not going to, no company will have two I mean, you could have like subdomains or ways you could on the technical side, but we need to be able to create value props that speak to two different sides of the marketplace without contradicting each other. And I think inherent in our business model, there's no direct contradictions, but there's value props that will appear much stronger to a member than to a customer. For example, and I think like one of the key intersections of that is almost on the pricing side. You want to be able to show value to customers on the B2B side. But if you show things as either too cheap or too expensive, then people who are drawing a salary, or not a salary, but getting paid through the marketplace, they want to make sure that they're also being fairly compensated. Um, so how do you balance that? How do you balance that with the transparency of the marketplace? Marketplaces have a whole bunch of different approaches towards pricing.
Mhm.
Is it fully transparent pricing in the way that Airbnb is a great example of transparent pricing in a marketplace. You go, everyone sees the same rates. You see the dates. You can scroll. You can see it vary. But then you have Uber, which is blind pricing, and obviously I think based on local legislation that varies market by market, but generally you'll get an estimate and you'll only find out after the fact.
Mhm.
Then there's almost SaaS model pricing where it's the same for everyone, but it's so how does that pricing and how does that transparency apply into the marketplace is a question that we've been working towards, and especially when it comes to the question of making it equitable for every person involved and making sure that it's fair.
Mhm. Mhm. No, makes
And
it good.
yeah, no, it's just it's so the role of the website is kind of just to be able to set the tone, and for me, if our website's doing a great job, it's so people will look at it and understand who we are.
And maybe not just like limited to mission, just in your overall journey. Like, what have you found to be like great like tools, methods, approaches in order to lift, conversions and requests from the website? Because there can be many different ways how to tackle it. What has been successful for you?
Yeah, to be totally honest, we're still in the early stages of using our website within our journey,
Mm.
which is exciting because as a marketer, whenever you see such large opportunities for optimization and improvement, and you still see positive results, it's a good sign. But things that we've done that I've seen work really well is leveraging refer what we call them like I was going to use a technical term, but it's not what we like to call them. It's just we'll talk about referral nodes.
Hmm.
Um, in the idea of building network effects, which I'm not sure how familiar you are with network effects. There's Andrew Chen of A16Z has a great book called The Cold Start Problem on it,
Yep.
which talks a lot about network effects and how you can use network effects to scale. And particularly, the cold start problem is the store is answering how do you start leveraging network effects from zero? Because you need to
Hmm.
have some element of benefit coming out of a network to be able to leverage the network effect. Great book, would highly recommend it. And they also have a very good podcast, the A16Z podcast, which is a good listen. But for us, it's the main growth avenue has really been through network effects. And so for us, we have these nodes in our network, people who we see like who partners that will refer a lot of people into us, and making sure that we're able to work a lot more closely. And if someone's able to provide us with a lot of referrals because they believe in what we're doing, how can we make sure that they're getting something out of it as well? How can we make sure that they feel involved in what we're doing? How can we make sure that they feel connected? We have actually, I'll just give a shout out to my head of partnerships, Stefan Banal, who's a person on my team, or not on my team, but we're on the same level in the org chart, but in the team at Mission, who's been spearheading that effort to get that network effect working.
Very cool.
I have no
I
idea how
mean,
well that answered the question, but
no,
there's an answer.
no, it gives. I mean, it gives. Especially appreciate the reference to the book there because that gives people some, ammunition to keep on digging into this. I want to switch gears a little bit. We talked about growth. We talked about the company a bit. We talked about what you guys are doing. I would like to kind of like wrap it up to get to know you and your journey in marketing a little bit better and have some rapid fire questions for those. Are you ready for that?
Let's do it.
When you took it away, the first one a little bit, I would still ask it. Like, what is the last book that you read?
The last book that I read, I finished it yesterday, was the fourth book in the Dune series by Frank Herbert. So
Mhm.
not a very marketing book. Very like it's. I saw the latest Dune movie. Fell down the wormhole with books. Wormhole, that was not an intended pun, but there it is. In terms of marketing books, the one that I'm reading now that I would recommend is called. I'm just going to look behind me because I have it on the bookshelf and I don't want to mispronounce the name. It's called Converted. It's
Mhm.
by Neil Hoyne. I believe he's the head of measurement at Google.
Mhm.
or head of measurement and attribution. But pretty much it's there's nothing incredibly groundbreaking in that book, but it's a very data oriented look at marketing and growth channels and measurement, and looking at how to quick win A/B test experiments, how you should think about data within your marketing organization. And it's a nice little short book too. It's only like 150 pages, so quick read. Would highly recommend it to any marketer who's thinking about how do you quantify results.
Very cool. What's one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Um, I think the thing we're trying to it's automation. It's automation. Throughout our, and this is I think one of those typical startup journeys, which is as you start to approach scale, it's easy to do something once, it's easy to do it 3 times. All of a sudden you're doing it 10, 15 times in a day. It gets a little bit more difficult. So we're trying to take a systems approach to things that we're building, and how can we help people with the same degree of with the same amount of support, but do it in a more scalable way.
Mhm. If there would be no boundaries in technology, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role as a marketer today?
It's a great question. I don't even know if it's a question of technology or a question of resources for where we are as a company stage, but I think for me the biggest thing is personalization and user journeys.
Mhm.
I always like to say that marketing is the intersection of the right message in the right way at the right time. And personal, like you could take the exact same message that would sometimes be sent through an SMS and put it on a billboard in front of the same person, and it won't be received the same way.
Yep.
But so just channel personalization of messaging is the difference between mass media has its role in marketing, but being able to personalize individual messages in one-to-one communication is where people will go from awareness to of brand to actual attachment.
Mhm. For the very last question, right? I want to do a little bit of time travel with you, right? Let's go back to the days of Concordia, right?
Yeah.
So you're heading out of formal education into the world of business and marketing. What's the one advice you give yourself for your journey?
Oh man. Don't study marketing again. I did a degree in marketing right before Concordia. Where I live in Canada, we have almost like it's almost like a junior college or some type of in French it's cégep, but it's like
Mhm.
it's a pre-college program, and I did it in marketing, and I was to study marketing again. My
Mhm.
advice to my younger self would be diversify. I'd just say go take a coding class, go take a design class. I think that's one of the things that business schools don't get right about marketing is that there's a lot of very important things about strategic marketing, but up until you actually end up in a senior role at a company, all of the okay, well, how do you deal with competitors? How do you deal with brand defense? How do you deal with structuring an organization? What is marketing? And these are all super critical things for marketing leaders. But when you just start your career in marketing, you're never going to be asked to give these in-depth strategic proposals. On day one, it's going to be, okay, can you launch this campaign in AdWords, and can you help me figure out why this landing page isn't converting? Those technical skills are so. I would have doubled down on those technical skills, but apparently this worked out in the end anyways. So
Very
thank
cool,
you,
Matt.
Concordia.
And I really appreciate you took the time with us today. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about mission today, what's the one thing they should remember?
We're trying to help software developers have a better way to work remotely and independently. And if your company is looking to increase your ability to develop software quickly and build out new products, visit us at mission.dev or shoot me an email, matt@mission.dev, and we'd be glad to help.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Platform Presents.
Thanks so much.